One of my students actually that's in the room, Mr. Warren, mentioned virtual assistants. All right, real estate virtual assistants. So then I started researching, and I like to find local. So I found Tim Cook. Mr. Cook has his own. He's going to give you his resume. He's got a wealth of information. So I told him, in 30 minutes, can you just dazzle us with your information? And Tim, I'm going to give you this clicker. So y'all put your hands together for Mr. Tim Cook.
Can you hear me okay? Everybody hear me okay in the back? Okay, let me see a show of hands to start with. How many people have used a virtual assistant in their business today? Okay. How many people don't know what a virtual assistant is and whether or not they have a need? Raise your hands. And the rest of you wouldn't raise your hand if I paid you, right? Okay, so I'm not a very good joke teller, and I know that speakers are supposed to give a little joke, but people pay me not to do jokes. How's that? It's about as good as it's going to get, okay? So we're here to talk about how to implement real estate virtual assistants into your business and take it to the next level, okay? We're going to cover a little bit about me. That'll be the boring part. We're going to talk about what a real estate virtual assistant is, and I've abbreviated that to REVA. What services do they offer? What are the benefits of using a real estate virtual assistant in your business? Ideas and recommendations on things that I have done and ways that I think you could implement it into your business. And we're going to talk quite a bit about that, okay? Do less, make more, hire a virtual assistant today. That's what this is about. Welcome to the presentation this evening. A little bit about me. My name's Tim Cook. How many people have heard me talk before somewhere in the Metroplex? Okay, oh, quite a few, all right. So I spent the first part of my adult life in the Marine Corps. How many veterans do we have? Show of hands. Can we give them a round of applause, please? Thank you for your service. So I retired out of the Marine Corps, and believe it or not, I retired in Hawaii. You probably ask why I'm here, right? Unfortunately, I wasn't in this business when I retired, so I moved to Texas. I took on a second career as a defense contractor, supporting Lockheed on the F-35 program. And a funny story, I checked in there. I hadn't worked there very long, and I was a support contractor, actually. My Lockheed boss gave me a set of free tickets to a Ron LeGrand event. Okay? What they didn't tell me is it was free to get in, but not free to get out. I spent thousands of dollars, but honestly, that's what changed my life. So in 2000, after going to that free event, I started this business. And I spent all of my vacation time while I was at Lockheed going to different classes and stuff. And here I am today, 16 years later. I resigned from my job. How many people want to do that? Resign from their job, okay? Some of you may not believe this, but I actually gave them a 12-month written notice. Do you think I cared if they escorted me out of the program? 12 months. Now, I had all these top secret clearances, and everybody thought that they'd probably escort me out because of that, but something about them, they liked me, and they kept me, and I stuck around for that 12 months. At about 30 days away from that actual date, my boss says, "You're really packing up and leaving, aren't you?" I said, "Didn't you read the letter? It says, 26 July, so I'm coming up on that anniversary this month, so." Okay, I am the founder of the West DFW REI Group. Does anybody in here know we have a West DFW REI Group? Okay, that's over in Fort Worth. It used to be out in Weatherford for about the first 5 years, but we moved it to West Fort Worth, and you're all welcome to come join us. There's a link here. It's a meetup group, so it's easy to search on Meetup. I was a mentor for about 4 to 5 years for one of the national gurus for all their Texas students as well as their Canadian students. So I've done a lot of mentoring in the past. One of the things I discovered when I was mentoring, though, was that a lot of the students, just like many of you probably, new folks in the business and seasoned as well, had a job. And the job interfered with getting a lot of the things done that you want to do. Also, how many people like to do admin work? I mean, it's not a whole lot of fun, right? But you may not know how to post ads, you may not know how to create video, things like that. You may not know how to create a web presence. And a lot of my students kept telling me that. Well, about that time, I was already using a virtual assistant in my personal business for a couple of years. So the light bulb came on and said maybe there was an opportunity. So in 2012, I formed a partnership with a virtual assistant service in the Philippines and began offering services to local investors with a focus specifically on real estate investing. Okay, so that's how I got started with this business. First I was using a virtual assistant, then I created the service. What is a real estate virtual assistant? A real estate virtual assistant is basically an extension of your team. It's somebody that works remotely, that has maybe the skills that you don't have, you know, to maybe write ads, post ads, create video, any of the administrative things that you need to have done in your business that maybe you don't have the time or desire or know-how. A virtual assistant can free up your time so you can focus on income generating tasks. If it's not income generating, why do you want to do it? Okay? So income generating tasks, keep that in mind while we're talking this evening. Things that you should be doing are analyzing deals and making offers, right? And then also, I didn't put it up there, but you should be out soliciting for private money, right? So you can do more deals. So analyzing deals, making offers, and generating more private money. That's the things that you should be focused on. Why do you want to use a virtual assistant? You want to delegate the tasks that you don't like to do, the tasks that you don't know how to do, the tasks you don't have time to do, so you can free up your time to meet more sellers and make more offers and do more deals. Isn't that the bottom line in this business, doing more deals? Okay? We all want to do more deals. Free up your time to play with your kids or play with your grandkids. That's what I do, is go play with my grandkids. I spent 24 years in the service and was deployed so much, it just makes me sick when I think about how much I missed my kids growing up. So my granddaughters go to school 5 minutes from my office. So I go down there and have lunch every Friday. If they need some help at school, I take off and go play with the kids if I want to, but I really take advantage of that, and now I can do a lot of that where I couldn't with my kids. So that's where a lot of my focus is playing with grandkids. How many people have seen my granddaughter's video on sellyourdfwhouse.com? You need to go watch it. If you need a little uplift for the day, sellyourdfwhouse.com. She's a hoot. She did that video in 10 minutes. She read the script, she recorded it in 10 minutes, so it's quite hilarious. Okay, how do you know when it's time to outsource and hire a virtual assistant? Well, that's a really good question. That's probably one question I hear more than anything is, how do you know? Well, if you're overwhelmed with all the business tasks that you have, that's one of your first clues, okay? If you're trying to grow a business and you don't have the time to go do those things that you know need to be done, that's one of the clues right there. You need to hire somebody, okay? You're missing important details and deadlines. How many people have missed a deadline for something or miss some details on something. It's frustrating. If you're busy and you just can't get to it and you missed it, it's really irritating, okay? You already feel that you need an assistant, but you don't have room for them. That's a clue right there. A virtual assistant is a good solution to that problem. How many people are not tech savvy with computers? I mean, there's so many people that say, I don't have a clue how to go do that. Or you may know how, but you're just very slow. You're not very efficient at it, okay? There's a ton of people, especially the younger generation, that know how to use the computer and they're very efficient at doing it. A virtual assistant is very good at taking care of those tasks for you. You're tired of doing it all, isn't that the truth? How many people haven't done a deal? Come on, show me your hands. Okay. How many people have more than 15 years in the business? How many more than 20? Okay. Well, I've got 16, and I can tell you I'm tired of doing it all. Okay? And it doesn't take very long, trust me, it doesn't take very long to get to that feeling of tired of doing it all. It's time to outsource. Okay? So if you fall in any of those categories at all, it's time to think about outsourcing. How much you outsource, then we're going to talk about a little bit here, and then maybe some of this will make sense for you. Services offered by many virtual assistant companies. There's 1 million of these virtual assistant companies out there now, so you have to do your homework. You need to be pay very close attention to what they're offering, the frequency, the price, how they deliver, so on and so forth. We're going to talk a lot about that stuff right now. Some of the virtual assistant companies train their VAs. There are other companies, though. What happened? There are other virtual assistant companies that don't do anything for you. They want you to contract with them, they want you to pay them, and then they'll learn as they go. Or you have the full responsibility to teach them. The virtual assistants that we have are trained on the basic administrative task of supporting a real estate investor. That doesn't get into the specifics of how you want comps pulled, what tools you want used, that kind of thing. But I'm talking about where to go post ads, what kind of ads to write, so on and so forth. They understand the concepts and they know what investors are looking for. So we do quite a bit of training of the virtual assistants. Pulling comps. They understand the basics. You have to give them access to the tools you want them to use and identify the criteria and stuff that you're looking for in your comps. Market research and analysis is another great area where you can assign a virtual assistant to do that kind of stuff. Email marketing, blog, press release, and news article submission. Once you get your business going, you may want to assign somebody to go do these types of things to increase the visibility of your business across the web. How many people blog today? Okay. How many people are blogging for real estate today? Not very many, just a couple. So once you have your website set up, blogging is a great way to drive traffic to those websites. And it's a great way to educate your audience, whether you're trying to go after sellers or cash buyers for your wholesale business or rehabbers. It's a great way to communicate with your clientele. Data entry, if you're working on some sort of database or Excel files, audio transcription, management of RealFlow, FreedomSoft, or any other CRM type tool. We do a lot of training of the virtual assistants on those tools, but we can train on other types of CRM tools. One of the popular ones now is Podio. A lot of people are using Podio. but there's quite a few others out there. Build your buyer's list. How many people have their buyer's list being built 24/7, automatically? Not very many hands went up there. That's something that you need to fix, whether you go fix it or you assign a virtual assistant, but that buyer's list is your lifeblood, right? If you don't have a big buyer's list, it takes you longer to get those properties sold. So building a buyer's list is a great task for a virtual assistant. For sale by owner and wholesale lead generation, virtual assistants are a great place to go delegate that task to. Any kind of online marketing and ad posting, again, the administrative tasks that you don't like to do, that's the things you should consider about delegating to a virtual assistant. Image creation, my VA creates a lot of images and a lot of video for me. Social media management and submission. I'm not a huge social media person. I do some, but there's a lot of people that believe in social media big time. Building your business citations. Does anybody in this room know what a business citation is? We must not have any web gurus. How about business directories, internet business directories? You ever heard that term? It's pretty much the same thing as a citation, but business citations are very critical to Google finding you on the web. It's not just about keywords and meta tags and keyword descriptions. These business citations tell Google that you're a valid business and helps the search engines direct traffic to your site. Very important that they're done and done correct. You notice I've got critical on there. It's probably one of the most critical things you can do once you get a website set up. You can go do it, but it's very time consuming and it's important that it's done correctly. Any kind of website management. Calling FSBOs, I will tell you that there's a lot of services out there that say they'll call FSBOs for you. Just be sure and question them very well on the expectations that you're going to get as a result of them calling FSBOs. Depending on, we're going to talk more about this in a minute, but depending on what market you're in, who you're using for the calling, there may be some language barriers there. And quite honestly, there's not enough training that goes into calling FSBOs. I know our service is not, they'll do it, they're just not the best at it. Listing management, property management of your, or management of all your property listings on a web. This also can work for realtors. Inbound call answering service, we can do this. We ask that you give us a call and talk separately about pricing and how many hours you want and that kind of thing. This is something that a lot of services offer, is that inbound call management. If you're of the belief that a person's got to be on the other end of the phone when a buyer or seller calls, this might be something that you might want to delegate to a virtual assistant. I think that might be a duplicate. Video content creation. My virtual assistant, my personal virtual assistant, spends a lot of time in creating video marketing for me. It's a powerful, powerful tool. And if you're not doing any of it, I highly recommend that's something you consider implementing into your business. Other tasks, a lot of services, if there's things that they're not currently offering, go talk to them about whether or not that's something that they have the capability of doing. Some services may have the skill sets to offer that task that you're interested in, some may not. I can tell you that we'll talk about anything that's administrative related. If we can help you with it, we will. Should you use international or US-based services? This is an interesting question I get frequently because a lot of people think there's a language barrier. A lot of people think there's an internet problem. In most cases, there's not. I mean, you have to be careful with the language, but it just depends a lot on what your task is, okay? What is the task that you're going to give your virtual assistant? If you're not going to have the virtual assistant talking to people every day, as long as you're able to communicate, does it really matter that much? If most of your tasks are administrative in nature and you put it in writing and they can understand it, does the accent and the difference in language make that much of a difference? As long as you're understanding each other, I'd say maybe not. As long as they're still able to provide you the services that you're looking for. Calling buyer and seller leads versus posting ads and creating content may be a totally different virtual assistant requirement. So if you expect your virtual assistant to call buyers and sellers, you probably want them to be able to communicate, right? So you might want to consider, is it a US-based company, or if it's not, do they speak good English? Very important part of your decision. You must also compare the cost. Typically, a US-based virtual assistant company is going to cost you more money than the international services. The cost of living is much different over there than what it is here, and you're going to pay for that, okay? Talent and skill-wise, I don't see that there's really a difference. There's very, very talented people all around the world. Internet connections are not a problem in most cases. Occasionally we will have a problem in our services in the Philippines. Occasionally we'll have a problem with storms going through the Philippines. It'll knock out internet service, but heck, we can have that in the US too, right? So, but from a skill set perspective, a lot of people are brought up on computers nowadays, and most of them are very familiar or have Microsoft Office and all of the Office programs and stuff. So typically I don't see a problem between those two. But you have to make some decisions on what country, what language, what nationality, time changes, maybe the time zones may be an issue for you. In most cases it's not. Most services will work the hours that you want them to work. Again, our services in the Philippines. Okay. Sometimes it's just as important to know what not to do than what it is to do, right? So, a couple of things that we don't offer, and if somebody's offering these to you, I highly recommend that you beware and pay close attention. We don't negotiate and make offers for you, okay? Our virtual assistants are not trained for that, and most of them are not, okay? We don't follow up on your offers. And if somebody is telling you that they will, you got to think about that. Do you want them talking to your sellers about your offers? What if they're committing to something you don't want to commit to? What if they're just totally off in left field? What if they blow the whole deal for you? Is that worth it? I highly recommend you don't do it. I'm sorry?
What if they're working for other investors?
That's right. These are things that I highly recommend you keep close to your heart and do yourself, okay? We don't explain to sellers what your intentions are and what your business model is for buying houses. That's not what a virtual assistant is supposed to do. That's your job. Whose business is it anyhow? Isn't it yours? There's certain things you don't want to pass on to other people. We don't manage money and pay contractors. Do you want to give somebody free rein to your money to go pay somebody with? I think not. Okay? Definitely don't want to do that. And we don't make promises of things we can't control. If somebody comes in and says, we're going to give you 5 to 10 leads an hour, FSBO leads, solid leads pre-screened, property information sheets completed. How likely is that to happen? Is anybody finding 5 to 10 leads an hour? Anybody? Anybody finding 5 to 10 a week? So my point is, some of this stuff that they may tell you, some of these services out there will tell you, you gotta sit back and look at it and think about what they're saying, okay? By the way, these are all things that I have experienced and heard of and been asked to do, and these are things that I've learned that you don't want to repeat. I highly suggest staying away from those that offer these types of services. There's certain things you just don't want to do. Mistakes that many investors make with their virtual assistant. This is another thing. Pay very close attention to this. Don't jump in with both feet and bite off more than you can chew unless you're prepared for it. If you have never delegated any of your business to anyone, starting with 40 hours a week is probably not the best thing to do unless you have prepared for that time and know exactly what you're going to task the VA with. It's documented. You have some training to cover with them so that they know what they're going to do in that 40 hours. I highly recommend start out small and work your way up. Start with 10 hours a week. Take the 10 hours. It's much easier to manage. Identify the task. Do whatever training you need to do with your virtual assistant. Let them go to work, and then as they get comfortable, you get comfortable, start giving them more tasks. I have been using a VA for probably pushing 5 years now. How many hours do you think my virtual assistant works? Anybody? 15 hours a week. But you know what? I keep assigning more, I keep assigning more, I keep assigning more, and they keep doing more and more and more. I have a very good virtual assistant and probably gets 40 hours of work done in that 15 hours. There has been a couple of times I've bumped it up to 20, but I'm telling you, you can get a lot of work done in 10 to 15 hours a week. And it's much more manageable for you, because what I've seen in the past is people that go in with 40 hours or 30 hours, they get frustrated on down the road because they don't feel like they're getting their money's worth for the 40 hours. Well, you need to think about it. Start small and work your way up. Not setting goals for your business, for implementing your virtual assistant in your business. What do you need them to accomplish for you? You need to go into this with a goal in mind. What is it you want them to do? Write it down. Think about it. Put it away. Sleep on it. Come back. Look at it again, and you're going to say, did I write that? Really? Seriously? You know? So put some thought into this. Don't just jump into it. Put some thought into what it is you want your virtual assistant to do. Big mistake, not communicating with their virtual assistant. That VA is their extension of their team, right? How do you expect them to do things when you don't communicate? I've seen this over and over and over where the VA tries to reach out to them, tries to ask questions, they just don't respond. I don't understand it. The VA is a partner in your, not a partner, but a teammate. You need to explain to them what needs to be done and give them the opportunity and the ability to communicate back to you and answer their questions. On down the road, you may not have to communicate very often, but when there is a question, they need to be able to reach you, and you need to respond. Tasking your virtual assistant with creating ads and content and then not proofreading it. Whose business is it again? I said it earlier. Don't just tell them to go do this and then not proofread what it is they've created for you. Not providing sufficient guidance. Be clear. Put it in writing exactly what it is you're after. Expecting your virtual assistant to run your business. I can't tell you how many have seen this, try this, and I'm busy, I got a job, you know. So they want their VA to do everything, and that's a big mistake. And eventually, they cancel the service, the virtual assistant doesn't get the job done. They're not investors. They haven't been trained to be an investor. So you need to think about this. Again, these are the mistakes that I've seen over the last 5 years. And then canceling the service. I mean, if you've spent all this time and money to get your VA set up, establish goals, establish the task list, the schedule that they're going to work on, and maybe you've worked together for a few months or a year or longer, and then you just cancel it without even going back to the management team and addressing any kind of issues that you had. If they're not performing the way you expect, you need to tell somebody. Most VA services will have a management team on board where you can access them, reach them whenever you need help. So make sure you reach out to that management team, whoever that is. You should ask for that contact right up front when you start doing business with that company. Management of your VA. A lot of the companies out there will provide something like this, end of the day, beginning of the day type report via email. It may look different. It may be a Skype call, but this is what we do. You can communicate via Skype. Slack is another great tool if you have never looked at that one, and there's many others out there, but you got to have some tool that you're able to communicate clearly with your VA. Again, we talked about the supervisor to address any kind of concerns. Most of these services today will work whatever hours you want them to. If they need to be able to talk to people, then you're naturally going to want them to work during your work hours. If you want them to work during your work hours to post ads and stuff, you can do that too, but it may not be necessary, but that's a discussion you're going to have. But most of them will work whatever kind of hours that you want them to work. You need to have a management plan of all your data. Trying to do this with just email and documents stinks. You don't want to do it. You're much better off to implement a tool, you know, with the tools that we have today, the collaborative tools that we have. We didn't have 16 years ago when I started the business, but Box, Dropbox, Google Drive, those are great tools. It's just an extension of your hard drive. You create a folder that's a working folder for your team. Your VA has access to that. You're only working on one version of a document. I mean, you don't need 3 or 4 versions, documents floating around in your business, do you? That just becomes a management nightmare. This is a very cool way and easy way of managing your documentation. On top of that, everything's accessible right here on my phone. I mean, I can go anywhere and access my whole business. So there's some of the services out there use other tools for tracking their time and stuff. There's different time tracking tools to track the hours that they work and stuff, but that's, you'll have to talk to that particular company about what they're using. How do you pay your VA? I know I got to speed up here, George. I know you're staring at me behind the podium saying, so how do you pay your VA? Most of the services out there today are going to do an auto debit of your credit card. Some of them are using PayPal as well. I know probably some of you are concerned about them having a credit card number, but this is where the due diligence comes into play. You need to go research who you're dealing with. Don't just pick the cheapest or the coolest looking website you see out there. You need to research them and find out what others say about their business before you commit to giving them a credit card number. But it's a safe way to do business today. And you must keep your services current, or your credit card bill paid in order to receive service. Duh, right? Okay. You stay in control, you pick the hours. Most services out there, you can pick whatever kind of hours that you need. Again, I suggest start low, work your way up as you feel comfortable and the workload justifies it. Most services have a one-time setup fee out there, and you're going to find all kinds of different agreements. Anywhere from about $99 setup fee to several $1,000s. I kid you not, several $1,000s, okay? Ours happens to be $250, it's one time. Services, some services have a contract, some don't. Some want you to commit to a long-term contract. Just be careful, read the dotted or the fine print, make sure you're not signing up for something you didn't realize. Some charge by the job, others charge by the hour. Our particular service is by the hour. We are working on a semi-annual plan that will make it easier for clients in the future, for those that are looking to simplify things. One of the things, we've had this request a lot. I wish I knew more about how to work with my VA and how to implement them. We're working on some training that is going to get into that and teach investors more about what they should be doing with their virtual assistant to help maximize the profits in their business by implementing that VA. We're going to be offering some free reports on our website. When George called me about this, the time, it was almost like he had a webcam monitoring me and listened to what I was doing, because I just completely redid the website. This presentation was really put together quick for George to come here because it wasn't ready. So I apologize for any duplication, but we're working on the free reports to be able to teach you more about things you should consider when you're talking about delegating different tasks. We're going to be working on some consulting, just 30 to 60 minute in length, to talk more about, in depth about using your virtual assistant in your business and taking it to the next level. And we are considering implementing some new training on Investor Carrot websites. There's a bunch of people now using Investor Carrot. So just like the RealFlow and the FreedomSoft stuff earlier I mentioned, we're considering adding this to our portfolio as well. And we're going to start blogging on this site. I do quite a bit of blogging on some of my other sites, but we're going to start blogging on this site too. So if you're interested in receiving those, you'll want to go to that website and get signed up. And in summary, we're almost to the end. Hang in there. In summary, implementing the VA in your business can help you accelerate your business and take it to the next level much faster. You're delegating the things that you don't want or like or know how to do, okay? You're in control. You have the flexibility to do what you need to do with your virtual assistant. You may even want a second assistant. You might want one that does nothing but administrative tasks, one that calls FSBOs, one that manages websites. You know, that's all up to you. Once you get the ball rolling, get established, get comfortable, again, I would not try and do this at 40 hours a week to start. The benefits and the task are endless. When you sit down and start thinking about what you can do and start talking to your VA and find out what they are capable of doing, it's endless on what you can do. But the big thing is, this can really free up your time and get your life back. How many of us work buku hours, far more hours than we care to, right? Yep. I know the rest of you do too, and you just don't want to raise your arm or raise your hand, but we all spend a lot of time, and this can really help you. Do less, make more, hire a real estate virtual assistant today. Thank you for your time.
All right.